My name is Charlotte, and I am 27 years old. For 22 years, my parents called me the burden while my sister was their golden child, and that truth shaped every corner of my life long, before the family reunion that changed everything. I grew up in a house where silence was safer than speaking and where my existence felt like an inconvenience that everyone tolerated but no one wanted. My earliest memories are of my mother sighing when teachers praised me, of my father shaking his head as if my achievements were stains he had to wipe away, and of my sister basking in a light that never once fell on me. She was beautiful, confident, adored, the child they bragged about to neighbors and relatives, while I was the one they warned about, the one they whispered would never amount to much. Every birthday felt like a reminder that I was costing them something, money, time, pride, and they never let me forget it. If I asked for help, I was told I was ungrateful. If I succeeded, they said it was luck. If I failed, they said it proved their point. At school, I learned to smile so people wouldn't ask questions. At home, I learned to shrink so I wouldn't be noticed. My sister learned to laugh loudly, to interrupt, to shine, and my parents rewarded her for it. They called her their miracle, their future, their only hope, while I was the burden they carried like a secret shame. Family gatherings were the worst. Aunts would pinch my cheeks and say I should be more like my sister. Uncles would joke that I was too quiet, too serious, too much trouble. My parents never corrected them. They smiled, nodded, agreed. By the time I was a teenager, the word burden wasn't just something they said. It was something I believed. I worked harder than anyone because I thought I had to earn my right to exist. I took extra shifts, saved every coin, paid my own way whenever I could, hoping that one day they would look at me differently. They never did. When I got into college on a partial scholarship, my father told me not to embarrass the family by failing. When my sister dropped out twice, they paid her tuition again and again and called her brave for finding herself. When I graduated, they skipped the ceremony because my sister had a party to attend. When I moved out, they didn't hug me. They reminded me to take my boxes so I wouldn't leave a mess. Still, I kept everything they said. Every cruel remark, every dismissive laugh, locked away inside me like a collection of proof I never planned to use. Then came the family reunion. It was supposed to be a celebration, extended relatives flying in, a rented hall decorated with lights, long tables filled with food and chatter. I debated not going. Something in my chest told me it would hurt. But another part of me, the part that had been carrying 22 years of being called the burden, wanted to stand there and survive it one more time. When I arrived, my sister was already surrounded by applause. She wore a bright smile, a new dress, and confidence like armor. My parents hovered beside her, proud and glowing. I took a seat near the back, unnoticed, exactly where I always belonged. Speeches began after dinner. Relatives clinked glasses. Laughter echoed, and then my father stood up, tapping the microphone. The room quieted. He smiled the smile I knew too well, the one that never reached his eyes when he looked at me. He talked about family, about legacy, about pride. And then he said it, loud and clear, with everyone listening. We only have one daughter we're proud of. My sister laughed. Not nervously. Not awkwardly. She laughed like it was a joke we were all meant to enjoy. The room filled with uncomfortable chuckles and silence. I felt something inside me crack, not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. In that moment, the words from the thumbnail of my life became real. For 22 years, my parents called me the burden while my sister was their golden child, and now they had finally said it out loud. I didn't cry. I didn't stand up, not yet. I remembered the nights I recorded voice notes on my phone just to stay sane. The accidental recordings when my parents thought I wasn't home. The arguments where they didn't know my phone was on the table. I remembered why I had kept them. I stayed seated, heart pounding, listening as my father continued, unaware that the story wasn't ending the way he thought. Around me, relatives avoided my eyes. Some looked sorry. Some looked curious. My sister leaned back, smug, enjoying the moment. She didn't know what was coming. She didn't know that for once I wasn't going to carry the word burden alone. I stood up slowly, my legs shaking but my back straight. And in that moment, the room finally noticed me. The microphone squealed softly as I walked toward the projector table. every step echoing louder than my heartbeat. My father paused mid-sentence, confused, irritated, as if I were interrupting something important, which in his mind I was. My sister rolled her eyes, still smiling, still convinced this was about to be another awkward moment she could laugh off. I picked up my phone and said calmly, clearly, "Since we're talking about family and pride, I think everyone deserves to hear the whole story." A few relatives shifted in their seats. Someone whispered my name. My mother's face tightened. I connected my phone to the projector, the screen lighting up behind me, and pressed play. At first, it was just static. Then my father's voice filled the hall, sharp, unmistakable. "She's a burden," the recording said, followed by my mother agreeing, complaining about how I ruined plans, how my sister was the only daughter worth bragging about. Gasps rippled through the room. The laughter died instantly. I didn't look at anyone. I just let it play. Another clip followed. Then another. Years of words they never thought anyone else would hear. The projector showed dates and timestamps. Proof that this wasn't taken out of context. Proof that this wasn't a misunderstanding. My sister's smile vanished. She glanced around, searching for support, but all she found were stunned faces. By minute 7, exactly like the words burned into my memory, by minute 7, my sister was running for the door. She stood up abruptly, chair scraping loudly, and pushed through the crowd, her perfect image cracking in real time. My mother tried to stop the recording, rushing toward me, but my uncle stepped in front of her, shaking his head. "Let it finish," he said, so it did. When the final clip ended, the hall was silent in a way I had never experienced, heavy, undeniable, honest. I turned around and faced them all. "For 22 years, I said, my voice steady even though my hands trembled. I was told I was a burden. I believed it. I carried it. I built my entire life trying to be less heavy for people who never wanted to lift me." My father opened his mouth, but no sound came out. My mother was crying, not tears of remorse, but of exposure. Relatives began murmuring, anger replacing shock. Questions flew.
"Why would you say this?
How could you treat your own child like that?" My parents had no answers that made sense anymore. The story they had controlled for decades had slipped out of their hands. I didn't stay to watch them crumble. I didn't need revenge screams or dramatic exits. I had already said everything that mattered. I walked out of that hall lighter than I had ever felt, leaving behind the label they gave me. Outside, the night air felt different, like it belonged to me for the first time. In the weeks that followed, the family dynamic shifted in ways I never expected. Relatives reached out, some to apologize for not seeing it sooner, others to thank me for saying what they never had the courage to confront. My parents tried to call, to explain, to rewrite history, but the recording existed now. The truth existed, and I no longer needed their approval to validate my pain or my worth. I learned something powerful from that night. Being called the burden does not make you one. Carrying silence does. And when you finally set it down, it changes everything. If this story moved you, if you believe that standing up for yourself matters even when it's terrifying, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because stories like mine remind us that the truth, once spoken, can set you free.